All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Free Friday coaching call. Excited to see some familiar faces and also some new faces. For those of you that might be joining the call for the first time or catching it on the recording, we do this call the first and third Fridays of every month. And it has been going, for 7, 8 years or more now that we've been doing it. And originally, Rick was doing it, my late husband, and he had such a passion for helping agents from a mindset and skill set perspective continue to level up and be part of a larger community and conversation. And we have kept them going since his passing. So that's it's coming up on 3 years now, which is kind of crazy to even think about that. However, I always like to mention where this call got started because no one succeeds alone, and we all come from some place where we come into this industry brand new on day one. And we have people that are there to guide us and mentor and coach and help and inspire and lift along the way. And for me, he was that person when I started my real estate career back in 2005 as a newly licensed agent. And so I love the fact that we can continue a conversation to a large audience and group of people. There's over 900 people that are signed up that want the recordings of these calls as they happen and get distribution to be able to attend live. So we may have some people that jump on as we continue going. However, this is a company agnostic call, meaning it doesn't matter what company you're with or what stage of the business that you are in. It is a place to learn, to collaborate, and to grow. And so I have the privilege of interviewing and facilitating conversations with some of the most incredible and inspiring people in our industry. And it doesn't matter where they're from; they are here to share what they've done and what's worked for them for the benefit of you to be able to learn and grow and collaborate and take things to the next level in your life and your business. So, without further ado, I want to jump into today's call. The person that is our guest speaker for today is somebody that I actually saw her name more, just kind of in passing and at events and before I actually got to know her. However, my experience consistently across the board is she's a servant leader. She truly cares about people. She is committed to growing regardless of what levels of success that she's personally reached. And she's committed to helping lift other people and helping them rise that are in her circle and within her reach. And so for that, I have an incredible amount of respect for her. She came into the industry in 2008 and has been she's really an incredible leader in the industry. If you're wondering, well, we always kind of wonder, well, who's on these calls? What are they doing? Are they, equipped to talk? Like, are they getting on the call because we're looking for people to interview? No, she's on the call today because based on results, she's produced and created incredible results. We were chatting a little bit, literally just right before this call started, and to date, she's done 115 million in volume, and we are not even 3/4 of the way through the year. So walking the talk is really important. Rick used to say, preach only that which you practice. And so she's an incredible example. I'm super grateful to have you on the call today, Jessica. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Well, so before we jump into, I know there's this saying that who knows who said it first, and we never know who says what when. We just take the quotes as our own. I'll just say this one's not mine, but it's this idea of of list to last. Like if you want to be an agent that's going to last in the industry, it's important to develop a skill set around listing, and that's very important. However, skill sets also are refining and changing, and now we've got this whole conversation around AI and a skill set that now we
Mhm.
layer into whether we're working with buyers or sellers. And so, the landscape of the industry is changing. What it looks like to stay competitive in the industry is changing. And, that's the good news because that means as we change, we grow. Before we jump into a conversation around this, what I would love for you to share, just for the benefit of those that might be meeting you for the first time or not know your background or your history, is what got you into the industry and what has kept you in the industry this long?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Casey. I'm excited to be in any room that you're in because I know you attract great people around you. You attract, create a great environment for them to grow. And I'm excited to share. And I love what you said about sharing what you know. And I think for me, I'm just a deeply curious person, always learning. So one of the things that I learned about real estate agents when I first worked in actually an office where I was managing 250 single family rentals in the Tri Valley area, and like Stockton, Modesto. I was in my early 20s, so they put me, in the places that were a little bit more difficult to go and knock on doors and ask if they were going to pay their rent. Back in the day when we had big sheets of paper of like who needed to pay their rent, right? And I didn't ever want to become a realtor because every realtor in the office was broke, drinking, had marital problems, or was waiting for their next paycheck and was going to go cash it. And, it was just an office filled with unhappy, unhealthy people. This was in Tracy, California, by the way. And so I thought to myself, I never thought to myself that I wanted to be a real estate agent. So I actually was in the the restaurant industry, and I loved it. I had a huge passion for food and experience and creating events, actually in Contra Costa County. And then I worked for the Daniel Patterson Group, and was a general manager for a big restaurant in Oakland, California called Plum Restaurant. And I absolutely loved my job, except for that I was in the same box room for 12 plus hours a day. And I remember I'd get off work sometimes and maybe grab a beer from the 7-Eleven store and go home and chill and relax for a second. And I would wake up and I'd never opened those beers. So I had like a fridge full of single bottle beers. So I was just tired all the time. Hi, Katie. It's good to see you. The point was I knew I had to find something, and I didn't really understand what entrepreneurship was. I knew that people owned businesses, but I didn't know what entrepreneurs were. My dad grew up like I grew up with just like the harder you work, the more success you'll have. So I didn't understand anything about entrepreneurship. I just knew that I could outwork and outrun anybody around me, and that was what I was set out to do to become successful. So fast forward, I actually fell in love and lived apart for 8 months and moved to Los Angeles because I lost a bet to my now wife. And we've been together for 15 years. I lost a bet. It was whoever could get the biggest raise at our job had to move to the other place. So I moved to LA without a job. And I thought, she said, why don't you take 2 weeks and think about what you want to do? Like, I know you want to do something new with your life. And I'm with the first person that like truly believed in me and wanted me to do what was best for me. And I thought, well, let me get a job making very little amount of money where I can learn a lot at one time. It was 2011, where there was a lot of foreclosures going on, a lot of trustee sales. And I found a job on Craigslist and started working in an office because I'm really good with numbers and with people. And so I would call real estate agents all day and is an auction bidding service. And within 3 years, we did over 3,000 transactions and acquisitions for investors. So it was like boot camp of real estate. I learned a lot really fast. But I'd sit on the phone all day and ask the real estate agent that lost the short sale and it went to foreclosure what happened, talk about their clients, and learn about the experience of what was going on so we can figure out how to get them out of the house, right? Or how we were going to help them with a transition to vacate the home. And then I started underwriting, and it was I'm just really good with numbers. And I started evaluating these homes, what they were going to rent for, for these institutional investors. So I learned a lot about real estate in a very short period of time. And then in 2013, it all dried up, and there were no more investors or no more auctions, and REOs and things like that dried up, right? And everyone kind of went their separate ways. And then that's when I got licensed in 2013 after experiencing thousands of sales. So, yeah.
Wow. So you knew what you were doing by the time you went to actually go do it.
Yeah. But here's the fun part. When I sat down at the computer, because I stopped working out of the office, I got my license, and I'm sitting in our loft at the time. And my wife at the time is still working in corporate in IT. And I had the computer and my phone and a pencil and a pad. And I thought to myself, I know nothing about how to run a real estate business. Like, where do I start? And then that's where it became fun. I took the same skills that I'd learned, which was to pick up the phone and find out how I can help people. And that's how it all started.
I love that. And so what's kept you in the business? It's not for the faint of heart, for sure. Anyone that's actually doing it as a living to put food on the
Stuff
table.
is hard.
Yeah.
You wake up without a job every day, right? And you're
Mhm.
only as good as your last deal. To create lasting relationships, you have to sustain them. You have to nurture them, you have to contribute. And what's kept me in the business is that I can make it as big or small as I want. I'm intentional every morning about what my priorities are, and that's how I get the results that I want. Um, I truly believe and know and trust that I can exit from this business, being at EXP, and the way that I build my business. And that to me is honestly just like funding your purpose. If you ask, like, if you see Jessica on the leaderboard and you see a like number three large team in the United States, like that's cool, right? But like, what does your success look like? My success is not being the number three large team at EXP Realty in the United States. That doesn't matter to me. What matters is my profitability and the things that I do with my free time, which are go hiking and learn about birds and talk to my friends about birds and like do stuff like that. It has nothing to do with real estate. Um, and then the second I would say is being able to share success in a way where people can actually see what's possible. Like, hey, this woman did it. If that success is something that looks like success to you, what can I share to help you get there? And then seeing people actually implement that stuff, do the work, and create the results that I'm addicted to. Like, I live for that. Like, that energy is so good. It
Yeah.
feels great. Yeah.
Love that. I know. I was
Yeah.
this morning. I was having a conversation with my trainer as I was doing my workout, and we were talking about the idea that everybody has a different set of values, and your values,
Mm.
where you spend your time, what you talk about in conversation, when you earn money, where's the first places that it goes, like, all these
Mhm.
things determine values, not from a morals standpoint, but from what's important and what makes a human tick. And at the heart of, I think, many entrepreneurs, and you touched on this, is that you want to own your time and you want to own your life, period. So you're
Period. The
willing to
end.
go through the hard of entrepreneurship in the context and space of real estate, to be able to be talking about birds and taking hikes and knowing that at any time you're building and designing a life and a business that, should you choose to go a different direction at any point, you could. And in the meantime, you're coming up on 20 years of being here and making a huge contribution.
Whew. What?
I know, I said it. I said it. And, number three top team in a sea of over 80,000 agents at EXP is nothing to shake a stick at. So clearly we all have a lot that we can learn from you. So where I would love to start before we jump into this topic, which is our topic today around the listing and AI piece and relational piece, is you mentioned something really important, which is about how you start your day and the things that you do to ensure the success that you're seeing professionally so that you are having the quality of life that you really want to have personally. So tell us about what that looks like.
I don't know how much of the view you can see in the background, but I'll tell you, I have a big bunch of flowers cut in the back of my office today. And my wife actually is a great reminder to me. Sometimes I even have a hard time choosing me over another priority that's important to someone else that I'm here to serve, or that I'm committed or have a fiduciary duty or commitment or a promise to help. But like, you have to help yourself. And for me, I know that if I go outside and pick flowers in the morning and or just stare at the sky or sit and drink water, I stopped drinking coffee. We'll talk about that later. So drink water outside. I know it sounds boring, but just sit outside and really think about, like, why am I on Casey's call this morning? Like, why am I in this group? Like, how can I, how does it, how am I going to be able to help everyone on the call? Like, what am I spending my time today doing? And just thinking before I start doing, and being outside and grounded in the earth, and like put my feet on the ground and look outside and breathe fresh air and look out far. That 5 minutes to me, or 10 minutes, or however much I make for myself or my work in my workout or my walk, that time is what makes me feel human. um, that time is where I'm able to really understand like what kind of energy I have to give to what I have to do today, and what I need to maybe cut out of my day. And it's how I show up best. And I know that because I fail at it sometimes. And like the days that I don't do that, um, I don't feel good. I don't feel great. I sometimes get distracted. So So that for me is number one, and it might look different for all of you. And I think the formula is what is how can you serve you so that you can serve others best in your day, for sure.
I love that. And so from there, what happens?
So from there, I have a calendar, period. In fact, if it's not on my calendar, it's difficult. And I look at my calendar every single day, several times a day. I audit it and I look at it every single, obviously, like multiple times a week, monthly. There's things on my calendar that sometimes don't make sense to me, but they're commitments that I've made to myself or my family or my wife or, whatever it is. Like it has, like yesterday, for example, we were meeting with a designer for something like related to our house. And it's not something that I should do during the week, but it's something that has to move forward. And so therefore you have to make time for it. I start my morning every day with a team. If you're an individual agent, you can have it with yourself or with a mentor, but have a quick meeting just to touch on what's important and to just kind of do an energy check with whether it's you or your team. For me, it's my team. So I think actually one of them is on this call. I invited her to come, but I have my listing coordinator, I have my operations manager, I have everyone come on the call and we do like a 15-minute what's going on, what's important, what are we moving forward, what are any challenges that we need to like do a quick check on, how's everybody feeling, and then boom, launch into the day. That's where we start.
I love that. So, um, you have a process that is
Mm.
mostly non-negotiable, and then when it is negotiable, you pay the price, like all of us, right? We know what
Mhm.
works. It's like when we do things that know work, what works. It's like, well, we stop doing them. It's like, well, it was working. Why did we stop doing what was working? Like, oh yeah, I go back to what's working.
Mhm.
A reminder, when it feels off. Okay, so let's dive into the topic today, which is around the listings and AI and relationships. And for those of you that are on the call, we'd love for this to be interactive. So if you've got questions, put them in the chat. And for the next half hour or so, we will do a deep dive. Jessica, where do you think where would you like to start?
Yeah, I think it's about trust. I think number one is trust right now. Everyone has the same access to the same tools, and it wasn't that way a year ago. A year ago, maybe you could afford go high level and maybe you couldn't to customize it. Maybe you could afford to build out Salesforce to work perfectly the way your team does or the way your business does and or a CRM. And now, of course, at EXP or whatever brokerage you're at, you have access to some tools, but it maybe doesn't work exactly how your business works or how your customers work. And so now we can literally build out any tool that we want for a very low price to do anything we want it to do. Anyone has access to that. We have access to the most intelligent people in the world and all of their intellectual property. Nearly everything that you could possibly ever want to know, you can find out or you can ask. And that's incredible. It used to be, just a year ago that in Google, you would get the result that maybe people wanted you to see or the information that they wanted you to read or buy or be influenced by. And now you can literally do research in seconds. So we have access to all that information, which levels the playing field. But what's interesting, there is a statistic by a stat by a company. I'm trying to remember the company. I have it written down here as a reference. Cotality AI in Housing 2026. And they said that the trust gap has actually changed in the past year. So the 2026, it's 16% of consumers trust in AI to help find a home was nearly cut in half in 1 year. So it was 30%. So 30% last year, 16% this year. So meanwhile, 75% of buyers, I'm reading this, meanwhile, 75% of buyers assume the AI is already embedded in the transaction. So they're expecting the technology. They know that technology is involved in the transaction, like in different parts of their experience as a consumer. They just don't trust it with making a decision for them. So you see where the opportunity is there. And I think that's where, the consumer cannot download you, right? They can download everything else. They can search, they can get all the data they need. And so our jobs really become more to create that connection, show people a process, I'm here. I want to get there. I can't see it. I don't understand how my parents are going to sell their family home that I'm currently living in. I'm going to get married in September. And then in October, my parents, they've sold the house. They're going to stay for the wedding and they're going to move to Japan. And how am I going to find joy in my life? Because I don't even understand how I'm going to get all this shit moved out of the house. Right. Like they don't see joy. They don't perceive any of this process as fun. And the whole point of life is like to be present and be excited and enjoy every moment of that. And so for me, when a customer called me this last week, and that was a real example that I just gave, and they said, Jessica, you sold houses on my street, like in the last month. So obviously you probably know how to, get the best value. They sold really quickly. And like, I'm impressed by the price and the way you presented the property, blah, blah, blah. So tell me, like, what's the commission? That's not their question. It's cute, but it's not really their question. And they don't even really care how much the house sells for. They hope that they trust a person that or hire a person they trust that'll get them the best price. And they may like me. I think I have a great personality, and we might hit it off, and they might really think I'm nice and fun, or put them at ease. They might feel comfortable. But the truth is, like when we hang up the phone, the person that they're going to hire is ultimately going to be the person that helps them understand exactly what's going to happen week by week so that they could just focus on being present and enjoying. And I think that's such an amazing opportunity that we have, that we may have better now than ever before, is that our communication is not a soft skill anymore. It's like the skill that we need to navigate and become like that's the differentiator of the human connection with people, of making them feel seen, heard, and understood. So rather than skipping past the parents as the people that are going to move out of Japan, it's like, well, have you thought about renting the house? Do you want to know what that looks like? Do we skip selling the house right now? Or is it better to invest the money so they don't have to worry about being a landlord in California? Let's look at all the options. That puts people at ease right away, because they're like, okay, she's going to give us not only data, which we've already researched, but now she's going to help us, give us context to what we do with that data to make the best decision. So that's a lot of what I'm focused on with my team right now.
I love that. So you said a couple of things I think are really important. Number one, it's a level playing field because everyone has access to everything in the click of a button as far as information goes. So where the playing field was not level before, it's level for every single agent and consumer that's out there. Number two is that stat around the consumer trust in AI dropping by nearly half to 16% from last year to this year. And so what that means is there's a trust gap. I don't know who said it, but business moves at the speed of trust, period. And
Period. Yeah.
that is the foundation for everything in relationships and life and business. And so, and there is, so many incredible things that can be done and utilized now with AI and tech. And so, Katie had a question there. How do you embed the human component into the tech that you're using?
Yeah. Hi, Katie. It's so good to see you. I owe you a phone call back from yesterday. Yeah, so I think it's all about using the AI to do the things that take you a lot of time. And I'm going to give you a few really sharp examples of how I do it. And then layering on the human component to it or integrating it in. So, garbage in, garbage out. I mean, this is something that we can talk about all day, but we'll kind of just briefly touch on the fact that who's gotten an email from someone that you just don't even read because you're like, this is a bunch of like AI stuff and it's 5 paragraphs long and they could have said this in one sentence, and I'm not going to read this email because it doesn't deserve my time, truly. Like, it's not them communicating to me, it's them just being performative, and it's annoying. I don't delete call. What do you need? Sorry, I don't have time to read this long email. Our consumers are going to feel the same way. People are moving fast. Like, attention is, be direct, be concise, and use simple language. Most humans, and there's a stat on this that I don't have, but humans do not perceive you to be intelligent because you use large words. They actually perceive people that are direct, concise, and use very like tight communication as more intelligent. So just be direct, give people the information they need, and let them go. So I think that's one big thing, is make sure that you're communicating in a way that the person you're talking to will understand. and pay attention to their conversational style so that you're communicating to them in a way where you get the result they want, not just the result that you want. So that's really important. Two is I have actually Shamila on the phone. We've worked for together for 5 years. She lives in Pakistan, and she knows me really well. We care about each other. We're friends, and she does a lot of copywriting and editing for me. But she doesn't post things that she writes based on what she thinks I think. We literally sit together and brainstorm topics and write articles and things together, and she helps me expand on it and pulls things out of me. That's fun, but it's me. It's what I think. It's how I show up in the world. So don't put stuff out that is not you, because you're going to attract things that you don't want. So that's super important. Like, I always say, be as loud as you can be, and be all of you, and be super loud about you and what you think, because the people that share that same thing will come. So I'm going to give you a couple perfect examples of this. So 82%, based on the NAR survey, 82% of agents already use AI in their business, and the tools stopped being an advantage the day everyone got them, right? So like everyone has the tools. 44% of buyers would pay more for a human professional to verify what AI produces. So again, it goes back to that same point that people want to know, but is this real? Because especially in the economy, or the economy as well, but like every part of the world that we currently live in as Americans anyway, I think other people are living different lives. But um, but what we perceive is not always the truth, and it's getting more difficult to understand what the truth is. So I'm going to give you one example, which is we have a new tool. For example, at EXP, we were sitting at the top 250 mastermind, and one of our CEO, Leo Pareja, always says, if it's helpful for 80% of our agents, then it's helpful. But if it's not helpful for the majority of everyone in the room, then like let's move on. It's not really a solution we need. And we were going around the room and making suggestions of things that would be helpful. And I suggested that we should get access to House Canary, which is, anyone know what House Canary is? Anyone? No? Okay. Well, House Canary is, they have a really great, they're using AI to create CMAs, essentially like AVMs of homes. And they claim they have statistically a 2.7 variance of like actual sold versus their estimated valuation of the property. It brings a lot of tools in terms of condition and everything else. So the reason why I share this is RPR. Everyone's familiar with RPR, okay? RPR has great tools as well, so everyone has access if you're a member of NAR. But they did a study on a survey of real estate agents and asking, on average, about how long they spend creating or providing the value of a house to a consumer after a listing appointment. Okay, and guess what? Most of the agents, I have the statistics, but you can look it up, that they just released this survey. It's really, really interesting to read through. Most of the agents shared that they believe that they did not get the listing because they did not provide that fast enough. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So the differentiator and the opportunity, it was only 7% that provided it within an hour. Okay. So many agents said they spent up to maybe 4 hours or longer working on this, right? So I sell real estate all over the place, like everywhere. So I'm not the realtor on the ground. So what I do is I run the AVM, I run the comps, and then guess what? I pick up the phone and I actually spend my time talking to the real estate agents that sold the homes nearby, that sold those comps or have active inventory. Now, guess what? I'm going to be able to provide, I'm saving my time. I'm using a tool to grab all the relative comps, and I'm using my time to actually get context that I can provide to a consumer that is real information from the value that we bring. So if Sally sold 123 Main Street and I call her up and she said, yeah, the reason why they paid $200,000 is because of XYZ, then I know that that isn't necessarily like for like going to happen to this house down the street. Or if I talk to Bob and he's got 124 Main Street on the market, and he says, I've got 15 offers and blah blah blah. Now I know, like, I'm learning all of this information that is not available to the consumer. So context, like, we are, our job is to provide context. So if you're not spending 4 hours creating a CMA and you're one of the 7%, right, or maybe the only one that's providing that CMA immediately, guess what you get to spend your time doing? You get to spend your time being the human on the phone with them before anyone else calls back and provides what they promised and said that they would provide, and get on the phone and actually spend time building the trust to get the listing.
I love that. So some people are, afraid of tech because of what it takes to learn it, right? And the and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you think about it or what you feel about it. It is leverage, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so going through the learning curve to get that and then being strategic, not like, oh, now I can go to my kid's soccer game and not have to think about it because I sent the CMA off. No, now I got the CMA done in minutes, and now I can be strategic with my time about how I'm actually going to build value for this client and where my time's going to understand what's actually happened with the comps because providing context is everything. It's the meaning that gets assigned to it based on what's actually happening. So, I mean, a great example of and as a result of using this combination of tech and then being strategic, what is the experience that you have with your clients? Because obviously anybody can be an expert in their own neighborhood, but you mentioned you're selling real estate everywhere.
Yeah. You need to build authority on the thing that you're talking about, right? And that's something that you can build every single day by doing it for 15 minutes. So if you say, I know nothing about the market overall, you can build that skill and that muscle by spending time doing it. Where do we repeat that one more time, Casey? Kind of where you want to go with this, though. I'm starting to lose my thought there.
So you were talking about House Canary, to be able
Right.
to have the access to be able to do the CMAs, now spend the time in the relationships with the agents to get the context of what the comps are to bring that value back to the consumer and win
Right.
more listings, right? So you're using a combination of tech with the combination of relationships to now add
Mhm.
value, build trust faster with the consumer to to get that consumer as a client, right? So that's one example of how you're blending the AI tools with the relational piece. What would be another
Yeah.
example of a tool that you're using and then how you're balancing the relational side to build greater trust and influence?
Perfect. Yeah. So no one has a lead problem. None of us have to be tech savvy anymore, right? You don't have a technology problem. You have an ROI problem, I call it. An ROI, in the sense that I work with investors to understand what the ROI is on their investment, right? The return on investment. That is, I believe, every real estate agent's problem. And it has nothing to do with money. The agents who win are the ones that are resonating deeply, that are showing up omnipresently. I love the word omnipresent, and that are building intimacy at scale. And I think that's the unfair advantage. And that's the only return on the investment of your time and your energy and your heart and the sacrifice you make away from your friends and family and the things that you love to do all day. That's literally the only return on that investment of your energy in your life. And the one that truly compounds over time. And what I mean by that is, like, resonating with people is not about being the top producer. It's not about being the one with the most followers. The person that hires you, you're going to resonate with them by being human, but by making them feel known and making them feel like the hero in the story, right? So I truly feel like the interactions that we have, of course, you can do that at scale, conversation at scale through marketing and advertising, right? So putting your message out there, but it's not just going to be because you have 20,000 followers. It's going to be because You're the person that resonated with them and made them feel like you're the person that can get it done. So I think, being aligned with the people that you're speaking to is super, super important, and demonstrating your superpower and building that trust. Omnipresent. So that's the R, right? Resonating with people. Omnipresent, showing up when people least expect it. And this is the micro data that people don't always pay attention to, or the metadata. Like, everyone pays attention to the big things, right? Oh, you're getting married, or you're having kids, or you're wanting to downsize. Like, you understand the big thing that's happening in someone's life, but how you can really be omnipresent and resonate with someone and connect with them is to remember the tiny little things. How do we do that? We're not, I'm not a super genius. So I make notes, but I'm listening, and I'm not listening to respond. I'm listening to really understand. So when someone says, my kid has a basketball tournament next weekend, guess what? I'm going to make sure I reach out and find out how the game went. Right. And that is, I get the goosebumps actually, because this is one of the reasons why a lot of people say they hire me, because we ask people multiple times throughout the transaction why, not just the words, why did you hire me, but we ask them, we get lots of information and feedback from them. And one of the number one top reason is because you asked about our dad. And I'll tell you a quick story time. Quick story on this is that I was hired by a group of 8. There was like 6 or 8 family members. I can't remember. It was a couple of years ago, but it's one of my favorite stories. I had been referred by an employee of a company that was one of my large corporate clients, and they had referred them to the attorney that recommended all these agents. So it was like kind of this funky referral. And anyhow, they interviewed 5 or 6 agents. Okay. And they rented the conference room, $500. They paid for a conference room to all sit around the conference room together as a big family, because the father had passed away, the grandfather had passed away. And they brought every single agent into the office and interviewed them in person, except for me, because I was far away. So I got on Zoom, and I was on a computer with all of them in the room. And I thought to myself, well, this is going to be a little fun, because none of all the other agents were in person. So are they going to think I don't care? Like, what's going to happen, right? So I'm on the computer, and you can imagine that like the first 10 minutes were spent on the echo and like the chaos of everything technologically being challenging. And I stayed calm and cool, and we just worked through it, made some jokes, and once we finally got started, we had a great conversation. They loved the presentation. Of course, we had prepared, right? Preparing is, they say preparation is, or luck is where preparation meets opportunity. And that's how I built most of my successes. I prepare. I prepare for things. And then people think it's like you're naturally just a genius, or you know what you're talking about, but it's truly that I'm scared as crap and nervous, and because I want to, and the truth is because I want to make sure that I show up ready and prepared to help them. So at the end of the call, I asked them, they hired me, and I asked them why they hired me. And they said, because you're the only one that asked about our dad. Um, that's real. That's really how a lot of people are showing up. I mean, even people that care, they just care so much about saying the right thing that they forget that they're not connecting first. So I would say that that's a superpower. And then intimacy. So the R, the O, the I, the ROI. So intimacy, which is heart and hustle. I think rather than just talk about it, be about it. And the moment that the client stops thinking of you as their agent and thinking of you as their person, that's not a tactic or a strategy. It's really just the result of everything else done right. So it's not about becoming friends with your clients. Some people do that. I actually don't. I have a rule and for myself, and it's a rule not that I have to keep, but it's a rule that I respect for myself, which is that I don't go out to happy hours. Well, why don't you sell luxury real estate? Well, I don't know. Maybe you don't have to do that to sell luxury real estate. I sell $3 million homes and $1 million homes, but I don't go out to happy hour with my clients. It's just something I don't enjoy doing. I'm not a go to the bar, kind of hang out and wine and dine people. My corporate clients can't accept a gift over $250. So we don't go out to dinner and hang out. I don't send them gifts. That's just my business. Everyone runs their business. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just something I don't enjoy doing. So I said I wouldn't do it. So I don't. So to create intimacy in different ways. You don't have to wine and dine people and buy them. You can win their heart, and you can win their heart by showing up when it matters. And I like to say, um, I think it's frustrating as a new agent or starting over when you're looking for the playbook of like, what do I do today to get the business? That you just need to find the people that have the success that looks like the success that you want, and they will give you the playbook. But the truth is that you really need to understand that the simple stuff that matters is doing what you say you're going to do. And the easiest way to get started with that is to keep a little notebook of everything that comes out of your mouth that you say you're going to do. I have a list. I have a book. And in this book, every time something comes out of my mouth, and I have one on my computer as well, if I say I'm going to do it, then I do it. Um, and that's how you build your reputation. And that's, I think I've done a really good job building that reputation in my business and in the industry. And that's what becomes your brand. And that's what people know you for.
I love that. Well, what I would love to do over the next few minutes is open it up for any questions that anyone has that they would like to ask in this, around the topic of how I'm utilizing AI to create scale and
Mhm.
also balance it with the human component around building, a next layer of trust, right? Because we all want to be more efficient and more effective with our time so that we have more of the living in life. Um, so
I'll say too, is anyone using AI in any way that's interesting to them or intimidating, or I could give you a couple examples to, get your memory going, like neighborhood and market research and your listing appointment. One of the things that I'm doing that I think is really differentiating from anyone else is telling people exactly who the buyer will be for their property, 3, 4 different examples, right? And it's not based on, familial status or anything like that, but like, where do they work? Where are they moving from? These are all things that you can pull. And so you need to, if you want to build authority, especially for a listing where the other person lives around the neighborhood and their magnets on the refrigerator, you need to come in and they won't even question your knowledge about the neighborhood when you build out those avatars and you talk about those neighborhoods. So um, a lot of people love a lot of data and some people don't. Like if you've worked for an engineer, they love all that stuff. They're going to read everything you send them before you go to the listing appointment. Some people aren't going to read it at all. They just want to, feel you out. So,
what AI
um,
tools are you utilizing to do that?
Claude. So I'm using Claude 100% to do my data research. I also stress test it. I make sure that it's pulling from certain resources. I want to make sure it's just not, 40 white males on Reddit that they're pulling information from. Right? No offense, guys, if you're here.
Yeah.
But things like that. I want to make sure that it's pulling really good data. Um, The other tool that I'm using truly is Lovable. I love to build out a website for a property for a client before I go to, that's a really, really cool feature. I also I use Canva. So I'll actually have Claude help me build out all the slides, and then it can just put it right into Gamma, or you can use Claude just to build all the slides right there. And I'll have a full presentation that is specific to that property. So what I do is I have 6 different decks for 6 different types of strategies. One is someone that has a home that they didn't live in, they don't have an emotional tie to the home. But they really want to make sure they're making the best decisions for the trust or whoever it is, like if they're fiduciary to make the decision. And that deck is a totally different presentation to the developer that's going to scrape a home or rebuild it all the way up to, brand new square footage. So all of those decks are different. My profile for each listing presentation that I send before the listing, I have it change it so that it's actually contains relevant information that has certain key words in it that actually will resonate with the person that I'm talking to. So if they're a developer or they're first time buyer or whatever it is that the team, whoever the customer is or the prospect is, I want to make sure. But if I were sitting to sell $150 million on the team and I don't have the time to sit and build out every single one, so I've pre-built certain profiles and then I ask it after I have the initial first call, I put a bunch of information and context into it and I ask it to change it for that property. And then we talk about the neighborhood, the area, it pulls photos and it creates a whole presentation to send them at the end. Um, that's been a game changer for us, for sure.
Yeah, one of the things that it seems to be the when we talk about this idea of communication is that you'll get it's a direct feedback mechanism based on what your prompt is and how you're communicating. And so I think
Yeah.
this is an incredible, just a ongoing developing piece, right? About utilizing AI tools. And what you just mentioned, those specific examples, is getting inside the mind of who the audience is and speaking to
Yeah.
them directly, because it's a different message for a different audience, and it's making sure that those things are matched and aligned. And so you're really utilizing and leveraging the tech to be able to do that work for you, but you know that that's the outcome that's going to be most effective, and how you get there, right? So
Yeah.
instead of having the brain space and power going to that, which you previously, before the tech was available, to do that, that would have been a human doing that. And now your
Yeah.
human time can be reserved for where you're going to get the highest return on it, which is the building of trust and building relationship and providing that value.
Yeah. Another tool that I'll say absolutely. And I'll say another tool that you absolutely, if you take one thing away from this and nothing else, or you just got here, the tool that you want is called Whisper Flow. So it's WISP. Let me see. It's called Whisper Flow. I have it right here on my computer. It actually gives you insights, which are really cool. Like for example, so Whisper Flow is like a dictation tool, but it works just absolutely seamlessly because if you're typing, it's very you're a dinosaur. I'm sorry if you're using a keyboard to talk to a large language model, because what you're doing is you're framing it in a way that you would like try to make it like you're communicating in a letter. You're not conversationally talking to it. So the context that it's going to take from you when you're talking about it, talking to it conversationally is much different. I'm looking at my whisper flow here and it gives you insights, right? So it says that I've dictated in whatever this month, 44,000 words. It fixed and repaired 2,401 fixes. So it corrected 2,000 words. So imagine if you got all the time back from typing, which I type 70 words per minute. So I've like been a typer, like I've worked on a computer for so long, but I don't have to type as much anymore. So it reduces friction even in my energy just by conversationally being able to respond to things. And then rather than, oh, that stupid thing, like got to go back and fix it anyway. Whisperflow will actually go back. Hey, 123 Main Street. Oops, no, it's 1234 Main Street. It's going to go back and correct it. So I can move as quick. Like I'm talking fast on this call so we can like get through, but I talk fast all the time, except for guess with who? My clients that talk slow. How are you doing today, Mrs. Garrison? What's going on? Right. But in my business and to my team, like, ah, right? Like a million miles per hour. And it says that I talk 134 words per minute. So I doubled the time that I already talk fast. I can type fast. Sorry about that. I can type fast, but now I can type twice as fast. So that's just been a really cool tool. Check it out.
I love that. I love that. There's one word that's coming to mind about everything that you've shared today, and it is integration.
Hmm.
It's the intersection of where the human component and the technological component come together for everybody's best interest, and that it's not about one or the other anymore. It's really the integration of both, and everyone's going to integrate differently, right? So we all
Yeah.
find our own way based on who we are. You talked about like your superpower being connecting with people, developing trust and intimacy at scale, which is why you do the business that you do and have the team that you've built, is because you've been able to to leverage that as a superpower in combination with technology now that lets you to do that at an even higher level. So as we bring our call to a conclusion today, if there was anything or that you would say, like, what would be the top three things for the people that might be catching this on the recording or that are here live today? Like, if you're going to leave today and go, because it's all about what we do on the other side of a call like this or a conversation like this, like what's
Mhm.
going to be different in my business or my life, from an integration standpoint. If there was three things that you could give everyone on the call today to do that's going to really be a game changer and make the difference for them, from business, personal, the balancing of that, what would those three things be?
I have a podcast. I did like 44 episodes and I stopped doing it. And I'm about ready to relaunch a new one. And I was on with Susan McLean, the VP of Agent Success, this morning. It was a super fun call. And we were talking about showing up everywhere with an empty cup. Like one of the things that she says is just, you may know it, but it's really that you've experienced it. And I love that. And I think we're all seekers or disruptors. Like we're seeking something or we're going to disrupt something, and we have the opportunity to do that. So show up with an open mind. We're the only ones that can change our own mind. And so, if you have a limiting belief and you think you already know something in this world, I think it's really important that you're open to challenging your own beliefs and asking yourself, why is it that I feel that way? Why am I afraid to pick up the phone? Well, I'm afraid to pick up the phone for XYZ reason. Okay, well, why is that? And like, spend time with yourself would be the second one. Sit and spend time with yourself. What do billionaires do all day? They don't read email. They don't talk all day on the phone or prospect on the phone. They literally sit and think and think about how they can solve a problem. And so if you have a really big problem that feels like every time you wake up in the morning, and I've had some deeply personal, like challenging issues over the last year that I've had to face head on and like go right through. I would say if you have one of those things in your life, like you need to like break it down into little steps. And that little process every day will give you the energy and the hope and the belief that you can to do the next one. And then third is like go outside. Like go outside, go play, have fun. Don't take yourself too seriously because everything that we're doing is serious. So have fun.
I love that. Well, Jessica, you are a bright, shining light in our world, and I so appreciate
Thanks, Casey.
who you are. And I love your servant's heart, your willingness to always
Mm,
contribute uh, and to continue like being in the process of never arriving, uh, and also being really great with how far you've come
thank you.
and good with that, and still
It was
showing
an honor
to
and
serve.
an accomplishment in itself, really, to just be invited to be in this room and share with everyone. Like it was really special to me. So thank you so much.
Well, we are so appreciative of you and sharing your wisdom and your experience and your heart. And we'll look forward to having you back in the future. This call will be
Yeah,
recorded
thanks.
and housed on Empire Builder's website under the resources tab on our YouTube channel with all the call recordings for those of you that want to go back and catch it. And then it will also be emailed out to everyone that's on the email list. So everyone make it a great Friday. And we'll look forward to seeing you the first Friday of next month for our next free Friday coaching call. Have a great weekend,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye.
Take care. Bye.